All right, Student Senate, if we'll go ahead and start finding our seats, please. I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll go ahead and move into first roll call with Fisher.
Muhammad Al Abdullah. Al Abdullah. Al Madani. Nick Beasley. Beasley. Belina. Betancourt. Booz. Burke. Clements. Colburn. Cruz. Dowd. Garcia. Jillian King. Julipsy. Glasscock. Gertson. Grover. Hamlin. Hines. Howie. Huffman. Javin. Kavanaugh. Kelly. Kerperin. Kidd. King. Koger. Coleman. Leverett. Lux. Matos. Meinhardt. Newport. Oshner.
He's here.
Oh, Oshner, sorry. Orzakowski. Pelton. Pruss. Rice. Rivera. Reichert. Slater. Smith. Snyder Blaine. Snyder Ben. Spellman. Spencer. Stone Street. Wallace. Ward. Watkins. Whitmer. Boykin. Peyton. Rodriguez. Phillips. Soifua. And Bowers.
All right, we have 47 senators present, 6 excused, and 4 absent. We'll go ahead and move into first open period. Our first open period speaker tonight is Dean Lori Getch of Hale Library.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. So as many of you know, about 15 months ago, we had a disastrous fire, water, and smoke incident in Hale Library that destroyed about 85% of the interior of the building. I'm happy to report that the first floor Dave and Ellie Everett Learning Commons opened last Wednesday. We had 26 visitors on our 2,600 visitors on our first day. And so we are thrilled with the response we've received so far. How many of you have been in Hale? Oh, a lot of you. That's great. I didn't bring slides tonight purposefully because if you haven't been in there yet, I want you to go in there and see it for yourself. It's really an awesome space. We've got a number of reservable group study rooms. We want you to help us get the word out that those rooms are reservable. There's a little computer on the outside of the room that'll tell you how to reserve it, or you can reserve it through your Outlook calendar. We've got a lot of individual and group seating. We'll be opening the community room at the east end of the building with additional seating by October 1st. We have a goal of opening up 24/5 by midterms. We're in the process of hiring an overnight supervisor right now to help us keep the building open 24/5, so you can study all night long if you want to. Reserves and interlibrary loan services will still be operating from the information desk here in the Union. We have a very small book collection there of recently acquired or recently returned material, so you might find some things in there just for general interest in popular reading, graphic novels, and that sort of thing. The second floor will open at the start of second semester. That will be, for those of you who have been here for a while and know Old Hale, that will be a computer lab type environment similar to what Old Hale was. There'll be study tables and chairs there. We're opening up a new entrance into the floor. You won't have to quite walk down that long hall as far as you used to have to walk. You'll walk about halfway and come right into the building. And there'll be a new service desk that will combine the services of the library and ITAC, the Information Technology Assistance Center, into a single point of service. So there'll only be one desk there that you'll have to go to get help with your library resources and your ITAC needs. We will open a cafe second semester. It is Joyce and Joe's Cornerstone Cafe. Joyce and Joe are the Hales, for which the building is named, and their family gave a donation to support the opening of the cafe. This is a partnership with Housing and Dining Services, so it will be somewhat similar to what you've seen in other Cornerstone cafes in Jardine and Weefald. Some library staff will move back in by spring semester. Right now we have no permanent staff in the building except for our facilities staff. Otherwise, we're rotating people through a welcome desk that will help you learn your way around the first floor, help you with reservation system, printing, any other needs that you might have. We've just learned recently from our contractor that they think the remainder of the building, the 3rd through 5th floors in the basement, will be open by next fall semester, fall 2020. That's a semester earlier than we originally thought, so we're very excited about that. The idea behind the structure of the building is that the building will get quieter as you go up, so 4th floor will become the quiet floor. Rest of the floors will, 1st and 2nd will be a little busier, 3rd floor will be a little quieter, 4th floor will be real quiet. The Academic Learning Center that supports student athletes will move back into Hale at the end of next summer. We will also open up the 2-story Sunderland Foundation Innovation Lab, which will provide an opportunity for students to get exposure to artificial intelligence, virtual reality, makerspace, media production, other kinds of tools that you will likely use in the workplace someday. The Harry Potter room, the Great Room, will be one of the last things to come online. That's where the fire came into the building, was in the Great Room. And so a lot of water and smoke damage was in that space. We will bring that room back to its 1927 glory and restore the murals that are in that room, but those will be the last things to be done. Library collections will not come back into the building until all the construction is done. We have spent the past year and a half working with a company to clean 1.5 million volumes from the library collection, one book at a time. They clean it with a vacuum, they clean it with a chemical sponge, and then they put it in an ozone chamber to take out the smoke smell. So we don't want to bring those materials back into a construction site. We want to make sure that we're done, dust is cleaned up, everything is as pristine as we can get it before we bring those library materials back. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the building. I've got a few other announcements I want to share with you, but I want to answer your building questions first. Any questions from y'all?
Any questions for Dean Gedge?
Yes. I would hope it will be available by spring semester 2021. Maybe earlier, but that would be an outside guess.
Any further questions for Dean Gedge? Seeing none, if you want to go ahead and give those brief announcements.
A few quick announcements. On Monday from 10 to noon, we have a Meet Your Librarian event in Hale. It's an opportunity to get to know the librarian who works with your major area of study, with your discipline. Incentive to get a free Hale, Hale, Hale t-shirt while supplies last. We also want to mention the textbook affordability project. That's a project that has been funded in the past by SGA. The help desk here in the Union can tell you if a copy of a textbook for your class is being held on reserve and save you the expense of the textbook. Peer research consultants, which is also a program supported by SGA, are available to help you find academic sources on a topic, develop search strategies, investigate potential topics for a paper project, brainstorm information needs and resources, and help you format citations and the structure of your papers. Last but not least, we're doing a web survey to get some feedback on our website, which will be going through a redesign in the next year. There's a link at the top of the library's homepage that will take you to that survey. We really want to get student input on that. So if you can take a few moments to fill out that survey for us, we would be very appreciative. And to get the word out to your constituents would also be very helpful. And that is my report, unless you have any other questions.
Any further questions for Dean Gedge? Intern Coordinator Colburn.
Sure. We are still in the throes of negotiating our insurance settlement with the two insurance companies that have insured the university. We've received about $69 million so far in insurance money to restore Hale Library, and we anticipate that's probably not the end of the payments, that there will be additional payments, but that's what we've received to date.
Follow up.
And what was the total cost of the renovations or estimated?
We think we're around $100,000, or 100,000, I'm getting my numbers wrong tonight, $100 million, yeah.
Further questions? Senator Leverett.
Yes, I have a question. I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you've been doing.
Thank you.
For like what Hale means for this campus and the students and that we represent, I know they really, really appreciate it.
Great.
So thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you. I just want to say it takes a village. It's taken all 100 library staff and our architects and contractors and subcontractors to do what they've done since January to get the first floor open. And they did it on time, and they did it with a wonderful design, and we're looking forward to the rest of the building opening up. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming. Our next open period speaker this evening is Dr. Thomas Lane, our new Vice President of Student Life and Dean of Students.
Good evening. It's wonderful to be here tonight. This is, as I was looking at my calendar this morning at the start of the day, you have those meetings that you're really, really looking forward to, and this is one of them. I have a slide presentation, if I can have that come up. Ah, okay. There we go. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Two goals that I have with you tonight is to one, just introduce myself to you because for many of you, we may not have had the chance to interact yet. And so I want to tell you just a little bit about who I am and some of my background, and then also talk to you a little bit about the Division of Student Life. I think for many of you, you know that we've gone through some restructuring within the division. And so I wanted to share with you kind of what that restructuring looks like, and then talk a little bit about kind of what I see as my areas of immediate initiative so that you get a good understanding of what's important to me or what's on my mind. And then I'd be happy to answer any questions that the Senate might have. Really, the mission of the Division of Student Life is promoting student success by providing opportunities for personal and academic growth, leadership, professional development, and community engagement. And we do that through a number of programs, services, and activities. Many of those I'll talk about in just a few moments. We can switch to the next slide. So I thought a little bit about me. I thought I'd share with you some personal and some professional stuff. First, on the personal side, I've discovered that I really like Purple Pride ice cream. I've been eating a lot of it. I think I'm gaining the freshman 15 back. I've also discovered that I really like riding in President Myers golf carts. So if any of you can help get another of the Riding with Myers event going together, please include me in on that because that was a lot of fun. I've been working 25 years in student affairs, which is very difficult for me to believe. I'll actually be turning 50 November 6th of this year, and so I've had a chance to do some reflection, especially going through this change in employment and change for a new campus. And reflecting on those 25 years has really been an interesting time for me. I really came up through the student union, so the building that we're in right now, these types of buildings are what I really grew up in terms of student affairs. That's where I started at, both as a student leader, serving on what would be like our university programming council, and then also through administrative roles through the student union. And then when I moved to Missouri State University, I thought I'd be there for maybe about 5 years. I ended up being at Missouri State for about 14 years. And through that 14 years, I ended up in a number of roles, ranging from assistant dean of students and also director of the student union, and then also assistant to the vice president, where I was in charge of commencement and convocation, and also director of the student union. Assistant vice president, where I was able to work with our residence life programs and our campus recreation programs, and then also director of the union. And then associate vice president, where I was no longer director of the union, I ended up working as dean of students, which I really enjoyed that experience. And I did that for about 5 years, worked as dean of students, but also oversaw our counseling center, our disability resource center, the student union, a number of different student affairs programs and services. So I've had a lot of touch points in student life over those past 25 years. I'm a quintessential Gen Xer. My favorite Sirius XM channel is First Wave. I don't know if any of you have ever listened to that channel. Oh, my Senator Snyder, I'm seeing his head shake. We have to talk further. I love the band New Order, Husker Du, Pet Shop Boys. Look them all up. I probably have just given you a big dad rock clue there. Okay. Speaking of dads, I have a 17-year-old stepson. His name is Julian. Julian had his first visit to Kansas State University this last weekend. He is currently a senior in high school at Glendale High School in Springfield, Missouri. We decided not to pull him out his senior year. So he came to K-State last weekend. It was his first, well, he and I's first K-State football game. And I can tell you that you have a 17-year-old at Glendale High School who is drinking a lot of purple Kool-Aid right now. He is very excited about Kansas State. I currently am living on campus. So you probably, if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen me out and about in a lot of different places. I'm on campus pretty much all the time. I'm living in an apartment that's right above Kramer Dining Center. And so if you ask the staff member at Quick Cats, she can tell you that I love Cheetos and Diet Pepsi. My biggest joy, why I do what I do, is really I love seeing students graduate. I love seeing students graduate. So commencement is my favorite day of the year. It's kind of like my Christmas day. And so to be able to shake hands for students, especially students who have really had to struggle to accomplish their hopes and their dreams of higher education, those are the moments that I really get into. And so that's why I do what I do. Next slide. Thanks. So my role at K-State, and I've thought about this, is I've had to try to explain to my parents for the last 25 years what it is that I do. So I'm trying to boil these down into as simple as I can. Here's how I see my role at K-State. First is to provide leadership and support to the Division of Student Life areas. We have 22 departments within the Division of Student Life, and that really covers a broad range of student touch points. We have 870 full and part-time staff. We have 49 graduate assistants that are working, gaining skills that hopefully they'll be able to take on after their experience at K-State. And we have, and I love this number, we have over 2,500 student employees. And so we have a lot of touch points with students in regards to the division. The division has gone through a restructuring, if you could just change the slide, due to the Strategic Enrollment Management Initiative. And so one of the initiatives that came forth from the SEM movement was a reconfiguration of student life so that we're able to really focus on how we support students who are on campus, really focus with intensity on retention. And so the way that I see the division of student life is really focusing on 3 areas. We put students first by doing 3 things. Building a sense of community, and so you can see, and these all cut across these 3 things. They're not just in isolated pockets, but community building, housing and dining services. You know, we have 5,000 residents, or 5,000 beds where we have residential communities that are formed, and we have the K-State Student Union where community is built each and every day through programs and activities. Our Center for Student Involvement, Diversity and Multicultural Student Affairs is located within the Division of Student Life. Our LGBT Resource Center is part of that community building effort of how do we make sure that all students feel included and belong at K-State. And then student well-being, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but counseling services, recreational services, Lafine Health Center, Career Center. I've included Career Center under that notion of well-being because research shows that a person who feels good and passionate about what it is that they've chose to do in their life, their sense of well-being escalates greatly. And so I've included that as part of that comprehensive look at well-being, physical, social, career, community well-being. All of those fit within that area. And then we have a number of support resources designed to serve students. So ranging from our Office of Student Life, Student Legal Assistance, Student Access Center, Military and Veterans Affairs. We know that parents and families are a really important partner to student success. And so all of those support resources, our community building areas, our student well-being areas really form that nexus of student life. And so I'm really excited about where we're going as a division, and I'll talk in just a moment about that. 3 initiatives that I'm focusing on, and I need to preface this by saying I've been on campus for about 2 months. And so I'm learning about what's important to students. I'm learning about what's important to the university. But these 3 things are on top of mind to me. And in the visits that I've had with students, in the visits that I've had with staff, with campus community members, the first one is promoting how in the Division of Student Life can we promote a sense of student well-being. And I mean that in the most comprehensive sense, as I said before, but with a specific focus on college student mental health. We know that many college students are coming to college with increasing numbers of stating that they are experiencing depression, anxiety, stress. Those numbers are increasing. And that's not an issue I think that we're going to be able to staff counselors to fully address. It really has to be a community-wide approach in how we talk about mental health, how we as a community try to move forward in terms of better addressing the needs of student mental health concerns. And so that's an area that I feel really strongly about, really passionate about. We're going to be forming a partnership with a foundation, a national foundation called the JED Foundation. That foundation focuses solely on college student mental health. And so they're going to help us as a campus, I think, take a look at what we're really doing well in this area and what are some opportunities that we might have to build upon. So I'm really excited about that conversation. ensuring the successful completion of the Morris Family Multicultural Center. We're expecting a completion date of fall 2020. I think that's a really big deal for Kansas State University. In fact, I can share with you that 2 of the student leaders that were at my former campus are now coming to K-State next month to take a look at the work that we're doing in this area. So the news about this...
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Beasley. It's been moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? You've got 5 more minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we have students coming from, for example, Missouri State University to visit Kansas State to look at the good work that's happening here. So that's pretty exciting. And then my third initiative is developing a new mission, vision, values, and strategic directions for our Division of Student Life. We have an opportunity with the restructuring of the division to really take a look at what it is that we do, where it is that we want to go, and how do we want to get there. And we'll have lots of opportunities for student feedback, student involvement on that, as well as other campus community members. My final slide is just, again, I'm in the process of learning lots about Kansas State University. I would encourage you, if you'd like to stay connected with me, I have a Twitter account. I love to connect with each other on Twitter. The Vice President for Student Life website, I would encourage you to check out. But also, feel free to send me an email at talane@ksu.edu. My leadership style is very approachable, very accessible. Stop by Anderson 122. I'd love to visit with you. You're the reason why I do what I do. And so I'm excited about the relationships that we'll build and the work that we'll do together to enhance Kansas State University. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming to our meeting.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and move into announcements. There's a whole bunch of them, so I'll try to get through them quick. Our first announcement this week is that the transition from OrgSync to Org Central has allowed for Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell to reorganize some documents in the new platform. The agenda page that's normally attached with the links to committee meetings will return next week. The application for the 2019-2020 Elections Commissioner will be due on September 7th, that's Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. Applicants for that position will be interviewed on Sunday evening. If you have already applied, we'll be in contact tomorrow to find an interview time. Third, if you are a student senator who is interested in serving on the Special Committee on Rural Student Success, or if you are interested in chairing that special committee, please contact me in person after tonight's meeting or via email by next Monday, the 9th at noon. The Director of Student Outreach, Maggie Horton, is initiating the process of ordering SGA t-shirts again for any member who is interested. Please fill out her t-shirt interest form by this coming Sunday, September 8th at 11:59 p.m. This will allow her to gauge interest and present a final price estimate to Senate. Lastly, the form to order SGA name tags is now available. The cost of name tags this year is $10. Once the order is placed on September 20th, we will be able to distribute the name tags within 2 weeks. So they're double the price, but probably getting them 8 times as fast. Proxies for this week, we just have Matos for Carlson, and SGA Member of the Week is Cheyenne Brenner for her work this summer preparing for Aggieville to welcome the Safe Bar Alliance. So we'll give that to her. Quote of the week is the preamble to the SGA Constitution. So the students of Kansas State University, united in the belief that the goals of a democratic community can be furthered only by the citizenship habits, attitudes, skills, and knowledge acquired through experience, and that the degree of student development is likely to parallel closely the extent of responsibility which students carry for their own society, do adopt this Constitution for the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. We'll go ahead and move into commendations. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 17? Chair Booz. It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 17. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 1920-17, commendation to Bill Harlan by the Senate Executive Committee. Whereas Bill Harlan first began his Kansas State University Student Governing Association career in 1999 as the Student Senate parliamentarian, whereas Harlan next served as the Senate Operations Committee chair, whereas following graduation, Harlan served KSU SGA as an advisor for 18 years, whereas Harlan's institutional knowledge has long been a commodity for many student leaders he's advised, and whereas Harlan's departure to work for Information Technology Services means that he will be sorely missed by many current members of KSU SGA. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA, commends Bill Harlan for his 18 years of committed advisement to SGA. Section 2, upon passage of this resolution by Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Bill Harlan and his family.
Are there any questions on Resolution 17? All right, is there a motion on Resolution 17? Caucus Leader Glasscock. It's been moved in second to pass Resolution 17 unanimously. Are there any objections? Resolution 17 is approved. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 18? Senator Hines. Sorry, it's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 18. If the author will please come forward.
Resolution 1920-18, commendation to Dalton Reisner, Duke Shelley, and the Kent State University football team by Cameron Koger. Whereas Dalton Reisner and Duke Shelley both represented Kent State University in a positive manner throughout their football careers at Kent State University, highlighted by both players being multi-year All Big 12 selection, whereas Kent State University has consistently been among the best football programs in the nation for the past quarter century, as evident by our streak of 26 consecutive years of one or more players being selected in the NFL draft, whereas this streak is the longest such in the Big 12 Conference and the 11th longest streak in all of college football, whereas Dalton Reisner was selected with the 41st pick 2019 NFL draft by the Denver Broncos, and whereas Duke Shelley was selected with the 205th overall pick in the 2019 draft by the Chicago Bears, be it resolved that Section 1, Kent State University Student Governing Association commends the Kent State football team for extending their NFL draft streak to a 26th year and specifically congratulate Dalton Reisner and Duke Shelley on their great achievement. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature by the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to current head football coach Chris Kleiman, former head football coach Bill Snyder, former Kent State University football players Dalton Reisner and Duke Shelley, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Beasley.
With some thorough research, I feel I could find it.
Any further questions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion on this resolution? Caucus Leader Dowd. It's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution unanimously. Are there any objections? Resolution 18 is approved. Also, just an additional quick shout out to Senator Koger for his first time writing legislation and getting up and presenting it also. Is there a motion on to consider, Resolution 19? Senator King. It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 19. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 1920-19, commendation to the K-State Library staff by the Senate Executive Committee. Whereas on May 22nd, 2018, an accidental fire occurred on the roof of Hale Library, whereas Hale Library suffered substantial smoke and water damage, leading to the closure of the library for extensive recovery, restoration, and renovation efforts. Whereas the fire relocated the library staff to several buildings across campus, whereas the K-State Library staff has continued to offer many services, including textbooks on reserve, Ask a Librarian, and interlibrary loan despite not having their own space, and whereas the Dave and Ellie Everett Learning Commons reopened on August 28, 2019. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends the K-State Library staff for their resilience and for maintaining their student-driven mission during a difficult year. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the Dean of Libraries, Lori Getch, Executive Assistant to the Dean, Carmen Thurlow, to be distributed to all library staff, Vice President of Student Life and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, University Provost Charles Tabor, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Chair Booz.
I'm going to do it digitally like I do for students to her, so.
Any further questions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion on resolution 19? Senator King. It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 19 unanimously. Are there any objections? Resolution 19 is approved. We'll now move into approval of appointments. Is there a motion to consider resolution 20? Senator King. To consider? Okay, sorry, just checking. It's been moved and is there a second? Seconded to consider resolution 20. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 19-2020, approval of new student senators by Senate Operations Committee. Whereas Jeremy Newport has chosen to resign from the position of student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, whereas Madison Bowers has the next highest vote total for the College of Health and Human Sciences from the 2019 SGA general election, whereas there are currently vacancies for the position of student senator from the graduate school, and whereas Aleka Sofua, I'm sorry if I say that wrong, has the next highest vote totals, one of the next highest vote totals for the graduate school from the 2019 SGA general election. Be it resolved that Section 1, the following individuals be approved as student senators from their respective colleges. Madison Bowers, College of Health and Human Sciences. Aleka Sofua, Graduate School.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 20? Senator Oxner. It's been moved and seconded. We approve resolution 20 unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing none, resolution 20 is approved. And if Madison Bowers will please come to the front, and then Aleka if she's here. She wasn't at first roll call. And then, yes, also Fernando Garcia. Are you excited? You ready? All right, if you guys want to go down here. Oh, sorry. If you'll go ahead and raise your right hand and say, I will at the end. So I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of student senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. Okay, if you'll go ahead and introduce yourself, name, hometown, major, favorite smell.
Favorite smell. Hey, Fernando, you can call me Nando. Hometown, Topeka, Kansas. I'm in architecture. Favorite smell, easy. My mom's cooking, so probably have to.
Hey guys, my name's Maddie Bowers. I'm from Baser, studying communication sciences and disorders with a minor in human development and family sciences. And my favorite smells Ollie in the shower.
Guys, can you go sit down? All right, we'll now move into committee chair reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Booz.
See if I can get this all the way over. All right. So, hello everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Andrew Booz. I'm the Senate Operations Committee Chair for this school year. And as you saw, our committee is actually filling vacancies, which is great. So I wanted to go over really quick how you can submit legislation in Engage, just in case, or Org Central, just in case you need to know that, and then give you some announcements about vacancies again and elections as well. So to go and submit legislation, if you start on the home page, then you'll see like this right here with your avatar on the left and your list of organizations. So if you click on SGA, and then you should see a Manage Organization button on the right. And so uploading files in Engage as opposed to OrgSync, our previous platform, requires you to actually go have a level of administrator access to upload files. And so do not use that maliciously. So first, you click on that organization. You will be dropped here on this page that tells you what organization it is. Then you can click on the button on the side and go to Documents. And then once Documents load, you'll see Nathan's great Documents organization. So then you can double click on the Legislation folder and double click on Submit to Senate Operations. And then finally, you can click Add File and upload your file in any of these formats, although we prefer Word or something that we can change to Word so that we can actually edit it. So that's how you can submit files via Engage or Org Central if you did not know how to do that before. So second, Senate Operations Committee is the committee that's kind of behind what we do almost every day. So we help edit your legislation that you submit, but we also help fill vacancies. And so as you saw, if Aleka had been here, we would have filled 3 vacancies today, and hopefully we can fill even more vacancies at the next meeting. So we are continuing to work on that, and hopefully we'll be up to 62 by a reasonable time period. So that's, let's see, Senate operations and vacancies. Finally, I wanted to talk about elections. So as many of you know, we had a major problems with elections last year, and we are completely committed to solving them. And so to that end, one of the other enumerated duties of Senate operations is to oversee Senate elections. And so that's what we plan on doing. So Senate operations will be the primary committee and the only committee at the moment on elections reform. To that end, we will be blocking out 30-minute blocks of time at the very beginning of our meetings, which are at 8 p.m. on Mondays in the CSI conference room. And those 30-minute blocks will be, if there are people there that want to discuss elections, we will only discuss elections. And we will bounce ideas off. We will think of things, legislation to write. We will do all sorts of, anything that's required to do that. So as we begin, however, we will limit the number of times that we will do this to 3 times. So we will have 3 weeks of these periods. If we continue to have significant interests, such as, if we only have one person there who wants to discuss elections, then after those 3 times, we will not discuss elections. However, we will continue to do so if we have more than that. If there's any significant amount of interest at all, we will discuss elections. Finally, this week on Monday, we intend to discuss pretty much everything regarding elections, and then kind of hammer out more specific topics to talk about in the meeting after this week. Topics could include, the duties of the elections commissioner versus the elections committee, the definition of social media and regulation of social media and political campaigns, voting system, really anything is on the table at this point. We want to hear everyone's opinion. We want you all to be there. and all be able to contribute to this discussion. And finally, if you really do not feel like the way that the committee is going on this issue is one that you think is a good one, I would encourage you to also write your own bill. We will review it fairly, and we will pass it on to Senate for it to be debated. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Chair Booz? Senator Leverett.
So, this question about the election reform.
Yeah.
You said you guys are only going to focus on election reform when students come in to ask questions about it. There's no active election reform if people are not there asking questions about it.
Well, if members of our committee also want to discuss it, then we will take that time. Some members of my committee were worried about us blocking out that time and making it available when no one was interested in coming.
Follow-up granted.
Yeah. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, are there any other committee chairs that would like to give a report? Are there any directors that would like to give a report? Cheyenne, I'm actually going to go first, and then I'll come back to you. Does that work? Sorry. All right, so I'll be pretty quick. I just kind of have like a laundry list of items. If, as many of you guys know, I was here all summer, so have had the opportunity to work on some things, hopefully get ahead, meet lots of people, and it's been great to do. Today in College Caucus time, we will be selecting TFSC committee members for the year so that that body can start meeting on September 17th. Some colleges have more plentiful applicants than others, I will say that. But when Nathan gets to his report, you'll see that there's a couple other things to work on during College Caucus time as well. I wanted to give an update on advising for this year. So as you heard in the first commendation, Bill Harlan is no longer employed with CSI. He's chosen to go full-time with Central IT for the university. And so that left us with a couple gaps. So first, Kelly will be advising us here during Senate. Dr. Lane will be advising Senate Executive Committee and Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee. And I'm trying to think of other. Privilege Fee will actually be chaired by Jen Owensby, who works in the finance office and actually used to have Amy Lee's job as like the OSAS accountant way back when. So she's very familiar with both the campus privilege fee, but also our legislative process. You'll see tonight on the agenda with Resolution 22, there's kind of been a hot conversation in Faculty Senate, and I won't be reading that bill, so I wanted to give a little insight really quick first, just as to I have felt an obligation to write this resolution based on the fact that I am elected by this body of people. So really that'll kind of give me my decision on how I should go forward about voting in Faculty Senate next Tuesday, potentially. And then I think Andrew Booz pretty much spoke to everything on elections, but I'd like to reiterate especially what he said about writing your own legislation. Any of you who are senators have the ability to do that independently, and I guarantee if it hits submit to Senate Operations folder and then introduction of legislation, it will be put on the agenda. And I also wanted to remind you all that proxy forms are due on Wednesdays at 7:00 p.m. to be approved. There were some issues with that this week, and moving forward, we're kind of past the hold harmless stage of that, I guess. So 3 Senate absences, 3 committee absences, and removal. Any questions? All right. Let's go ahead to Director Brunner.
Hello, everyone. This is my first time up here, so I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Cheyenne Bruner. I'm the Sexual Violence Prevention Awareness Director. And this summer, I've been working super hard on Safe Bar, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that and then where we are in that process. Safe Bar has made drastic moves these past 3 months, and I'm so excited to say that we are ready to train our first group of people, which is super exciting. A group of trained people is from 4 to 8 people. We have 9 people, which is nice. And then for training the bars, you only need 2 facilitators for that. So we'll be able to train like 4 or 5 bars at one time, which is really nice. For those of you who don't know, Safe Bar is a bystander intervention training aimed at creating a safe atmosphere at bars and other drinking establishments. It teaches staff to intervene when they see sexual assault and or harassment between other staff members or bar patrons. Safe Bar was implemented in Lawrence 2 years ago and already has over 20 establishments trained, which is really nice because here in the next 2 years, we'll hopefully have like more than that. The training is 2 hours long. The director in Lawrence will train us and we'll become the facilitators, and then we will train the participating bars, which is super nice because then the director at Lawrence doesn't have to keep coming back over here to train the bars. Like, we can just do it ourselves. I am pairing with the CARE office to implement this program as well as the K-State Sexual Assault Task Force. I've had a ton of meetings this summer with both these groups as well as phone calls with Kelsey Hunter, who is the director in Lawrence. We are at that point where we are ready to set up a date to be trained, and we are ready to begin contacting bar staff to see who would be interested. And also, if any of you want to be trained, like, please contact me. It's super amazing. Even if you don't want to train the bars, you can still go through the training just so you have more information about it. A bad thing, Kelsey has left her position and is in the process of hiring someone else. What this means is that we, the facilitators, are not able to be trained until she hires and trains a new person over in Lawrence. This is a slight bump in the road, but I'm hoping that I can still keep the ground moving through having conversations with bars and making sure that everyone is ready to go when we get that new director and we are trained. And then other than Safe Bar, I'm hoping to bring the founders of Jana's campaign to come speak to either SGA or like the entire campus about intimate partner violence and its effects on college students. And if you have any other speakers or initiatives you want me to get a part of, you can just call me or email me or whatever. And that's all.
Any questions for Director Bruner? Caucus Leader Spelman.
This isn't a question, but I want to thank you for doing this work this summer. This is really important.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Further directors' reports? Yeah, we can clap for Cheyenne. She deserves it. One more time. Further directors' reports? Chief of Staff Polson.
Can we start over here? Okay. No, I'll run it. You got it. Yeah. Wow, we are really excited to be back. I hope the first week and a half, a little over that, has been very great for you guys. Some of us have spent a lot of time here this summer. I know Ali was here all summer. I was here until the end of June. And then Sadie worked with Derry a lot, but she was...
Some of us were here over the summer.
Yeah,
I was
guess.
not.
But what we're gonna do is give you a quick run through of some of the different things that we've been working on. We're not gonna go too in depth on them now because you'll be hearing from a lot of our directors on them here in the future. But we just want to give you kind of a screenshot of what's been going on this summer, what we're working on now, and what's relevant this week and next week especially. And then afterwards, we are welcome to take any questions. But if there's something that comes up on the screen that you maybe have some very detailed questions about, just reach out to us. We can answer that ourselves or connect you with the cabinet member who's focused on that. But let's go.
Yeah, so we wanted to start a little bit looking at our priorities that we will read in the piece of legislation here after directors or after reports. So you guys can read. I won't spend too much time on them, but these are the 5 things that we put in that piece of legislation. So that will kind of look similarly as we go through the slides. So the first thing is food insecurity. We are big proponents for Cat's Cupboard, and we're looking to work with them a lot this year. Long term, we would love for Cat's Cupboard to have perishable foods, and working with housing and dining services to use what food is not eaten there to be given to Cat's Cupboard. So we're looking at having a space that's up to code. If that means moving, let's do it. Looking at fridges, freezers, that kind of thing. And today, I'm going to plug a short little thing. Today, I actually had a meeting with the Cat's Cupboard director, Erin Bishop, with our food and security director, and there will be a lot of really neat, I guess, like Cat's Cupboard SGA partnerships coming up in the next few months. So look out for that. If you'd like to volunteer or help, just let me know. And then just like Cheyenne talked about, Safe Bar Alliance is something that made a lot of moves this summer, thanks to Cheyenne, and we're hoping to see that pretty soon as well.
And then going on, talking a little bit more about privilege fee and VO Ride Bike. So if you guys notice in your tuition statement, on that bottom line, the privilege fee rate is $28.50 per semester. So that's about a 6.4% increase. That is something that I didn't like to see, and that's something that is directly harming every student here on campus. And so we are doing something about it. We have a lot of short-term and long-term goals that we're going to launch to you soon. This is something that me, Ali, Hannah, all of us have been working on in coordination with Donnie Riffle, who's the privilege fee chair. And so we are going to see privilege fee committee looking a little bit different this year, but you will also see some legislation soon on how we're going to attain our goal of keeping that either flat for this next year or allowing it to only go up about 1 or 2%, because we do not want to see that 6.4% number again. And then lastly, VO Ride Bikes. So this is something that the past student-body president and vice president, Jordan and Lacey, worked on a lot. And so they were ready to go with a contract, ready to get signed. And as far as Jordan and Lacey knew, we were ready to have VO Ride Bikes, which is a pay-to-ride. They are purple bikes, really cool, here on campus. They would have been on campus now. There were a few adjustments. The state of Kansas passed some new regulations and ordinances governing how e-bikes work in the state of Kansas. So what that has done is it has made all the different cities around Kansas trying to figure out what their own ordinances are going to be. So really, since the state of Kansas changed that, that has propelled us into a lot of new conversations. What does that mean for the city of Manhattan, and what does that mean for K-State? And so you guys might have seen on our social media, we pushed it pretty hard and got over 400 responses on e-scooters. And what we want as far as K-State students. Right now, there's overwhelming support for them, but we're going to take all that survey data, we're going to publish it out on social media, and then next Friday, Ollie and I are going to meet with a group where we will have a discussion on what our official K-State stance is going to be. So we can say totally yes, totally no, or find something in the middle. And the city of Manhattan can do something totally different. And if they like it and we don't, we can geofence ourselves out. And so it really allows a lot of cool flexibility there. Okay, and then also, so you saw the e-scooter survey, and you probably also saw a survey talking about an additional 2-day break. So Ollie and I have the privilege on serving on the University Calendar Committee. It's a committee of 5 individuals, so Ollie and I hold 40% of the vote in there. And so what we do is look forward to a lot of those academic calendar changes. Right now, we are working on the years 2022 to 2023, and so this is
Time.
about 3 years out.
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Hines. It's been moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? 5 more minutes.
This is the survey that was put out, had over 700 responses to it, and we're going to be releasing some of those results soon. And you will hear a lot more about this one. So later on in Resolution 22. So also with Principles of Community, we are making some adjustments to that based on some of the recommendations from General Counsel and the different campus administrators. So that will also be on the docket for this evening. And then lastly, you want to cover this one, Sadie?
Yeah, so Dr. Lane mentioned that there's going to be there is a student life strategic planning committee, and I get to serve on that. So if anyone has feedback as to or wants to have a conversation about where you see student life going, I'd love to meet with you.
Okay, so a couple of other stuff that's been going on over the summer. Jansen is one of the co-chairs of the ILC, which is the Intercultural Leadership Council, and right now they are working on the Spirit program. So what the Spirit program will be, it'll be similar to KS Unite, but smaller and more action-based. So somebody from Topeka in the Department of Justice will come down for a one-day event. It'll be 8 or so hours, and they'll invite about 60 to 80 people on campus, whether that be students, faculty, administration, even people just within the community to come and join, and they will be going back and forth between different size groups, trying to like collaborate on what they see are the biggest issues related to diversity and inclusion in the Manhattan community, in K-State's community, and what they can do to solve them. And the goal of it is at the end of the day, they'll basically have a list of to-do tasks for everybody that's there. Like, you know, Adrian Rodriguez will obviously be there. He'll have his things to check off his list, and then we'll all actually go to work in doing it. And it'll kind of be also like a charge for KS Unite, because it'll be before KS Unite. So then once we get to KS Unite, we can continue to build off of that. Another thing is IDI training. So some of you are probably taking it. I had to take it when I was a Wildcat Forum counselor, so maybe you've had to take it for a different on-campus job. But what it is the Intercultural Development Inventory. And our director, Belk, and Hannah Heatherman, and some other people in leadership have been working to coordinate bringing that to SGA. What it basically is, it's a test that you all will take on your own time, and it'll basically kind of gauge how well you are to interacting and engaging with people who are different from you. So 2020 census is also coming up. That's going to be huge for the whole city of Manhattan and K-State. Basically what it is on April 1st, where you are is supposed to where you are on April 1st is what you're supposed to mark as your permanent residence. And what the government does with that is they take however many residents you have, and that's how they decide how much money to give you, whether that be grants from the state or from the national level. So we need to make sure that we're going to have everybody here on April 1st and everybody fills it out. Adibus wraps. Okay, cool. This was Jordan and Lacey's project. They started it last year, and we got to see it be done. You'll see them around. They're more K-State themed now. There's about 5 different types of them. So just be on the lookout for that. Athletics had our first game day last week. It was a great win. We got another one coming up. Some sad news about athletics is our contract with athletics. So right now we have a contract with athletics that basically says we will sell 7,000 passes every year. So that'll be ICAT, GA, and just football passes. And we'll average about 4,000 students attendance at every game over the course of the season. So we have to do that to make sure that we get to keep our nice spots in section 24 and 25 right on that 40-yard line. If we drop below that level, either of those different margins, at any point, they can technically move us into a corner if they wanted to. Now they're not jumping right to that, but it is something to keep on the radar. Our attendance is good, but we're about 600 tickets short. So hopefully after we beat Bowling Green on Saturday, we won't have that problem, but we'll just have to wait and see, and we will keep you all updated with that. And the last thing is more of an announcement. Author Adib Karam, he was the author of Darius the Great is Not Okay, which was the first-year book for students coming into K-State this year. He actually reached out to us, and he is allowing 2 members from SGA to come meet with him when he comes to campus before he gives his presentation that will be open to everybody. So if you're interested on that, it would be on September 12th, either at 10 a.m. or 4 p.m. He said it would work for him. Just reach out to me, and if there's more than 2 people, I'll figure out some way to decide.
So I know that was just like drinking from a fire hose. If you have any questions now, we are more than happy to take those. If there's anything a little bit more in-depth or technical, reach out to any of us with our contact information here.
Any questions? Seeing none, are there any other directors that would like to give a report? Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell.
No, it should be. Oh, perfect. You just present. Awesome. Hello there, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nathan Bothwell. I'm the Speaker Pro Tempore of Student Governing Association. Kind of means like I'm the assistant in the legislative branch, so I help out Hannah with whatever's necessary, but I also have a few other charges exclusive to me. My report tonight, I really wanted to focus on the platforms that I ran on last spring. I'm a political science major, and I think a really common criticism of politicians is that they never do what they say they're going to do. So tonight, I kind of wanted to present and have you guys help keep me accountable to Student Governing Association because you all elected me to do certain tasks. So I'm gonna go through the platforms that I ran on and talk about the progress that I've made on those so you can kind of see where I am. So these are all the platforms I ran on. I had 5 different ones. If you remember my cheesy line where I said, if you don't remember who to vote for, all my platforms start with O, so just think Nate, ooh, was the cheesy line that I used while I was running. But I'm just gonna go down the list and talk about each one and kind of the different progress that I've made on them. So to start off with, on my orientation platform, I discussed having training documents that were available for members of SGA to use. So for that right now, you'll find that on Engage right now, one of the new folders on the main page is labeled training documents. Every document in that page is now up to date to reflect current SGA practice. There were some in there before that were pretty old and outdated, referred to like the university and college allocations committees. None of those references are in there anymore. So feel free to go there if you're interested in learning more about SGA right now. All those old presentations are updated. In the meantime, a project that I'm working on right now is creating a Student Senate handbook. So I met with the committee chairs to discuss making a sort of handbook where you'd learn about the different committees. It'd provide you with the Student Senate standing rules. It'd also have like the legislative bylaws. A lot of different things like that would be in there as a resource for you. I'm hoping to have that done by next week, but I'm not gonna make a promise that I can't keep, but it will be done within the next couple weeks. The week that it's done, I'm going to be emailing that out to all of the student senators, but anyone in SGA is welcome to read that if they'd like, but it's gonna be designed for student senators in particular. The week after, we're gonna be playing a Kahoot during my director's report, and I will have a gift card to give the winner of that night. So you should actually study the handbook if you want to win a gift card. I think it's gonna be somewhere here in the union. So something to be looking forward to in the coming weeks. So another thing that I want to start doing a bit more of is having individual trainings with senators that join partway through the term. I think it's really difficult when you join SGA a couple weeks behind everyone else to learn what everything is. I've done a couple of these individual trainings already. Where's Natalia? She was the first one that I ever did. So shout out to her. I emailed her and like 2 hours later we had like a meeting. That was really fun. We've started doing some of these, but for those of you who are new tonight, be on the lookout for an email from me. You're gonna be hearing more about times to just come in and discuss everything SGA. So that's another one of my platforms that I've made progress on. My second platform was about the college caucus system and how we can use that for better outreach. So the first thing that I wanted to do was hold bi-weekly meetings with all caucus leaders. That one's really easy. We just had our first one tonight. So all your caucus leaders have lots of great ideas. They've been working on a variety of different things. I showed up expecting to we were starting at ground zero, but all the caucus leaders already had way more ideas and were way more prepared than I was expecting, which is awesome. So it made that meeting run really smoothly, and I think it went really well tonight. So we're looking forward to having more of those in the future. One of the things that we did at that meeting tonight is identifying areas to perform outreach. One great thing is almost every college caucus has their own social media platform by now, or if they don't, they're going to be launching very, very soon. Some of the caucuses are looking at doing diversity summits in the very near future. Some of them are looking at doing reaching out to different intro classes and things like that. So it's really awesome to know that those caucuses are on their way to getting started really well. Finally, the last thing that I wanted to do was to require the caucuses to submit a minimum number of commendations each semester. So we already had 3 earlier tonight, which was really great, but I'd really like to have 2 or 3 commendations at every student senate meeting if possible. And so tonight, one of the things on the agenda for college caucus leaders was to come to an agreement on what would seem like an appropriate number for each college caucus to write each semester. And overwhelmingly, all of your caucus leaders agreed that it should be 1 commendation per student senator, which was higher than I was expecting them to come up with. Last year, we only had about 40 resolutions in the whole year, and we're already at 20 for this year, and that would be like 40 just in this semester. So that is a really exciting number here. It sounds like your caucus leaders are really prepared to challenge you all, and it sounds like they really want each and every member of their caucus to write a piece of legislation at some point during the semester. So be looking forward to communicating with your caucus leaders on that. The next thing that I talked about was opportunity in the Diversity Programming Committee. DPC has not met yet this year. Our first meeting.
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Beasley. It's been moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? 5 more minutes.
Okay, so our first meeting is next Wednesday, September 11th is when it's going to be. I've already got about half the nominees filled by this point. I'm still waiting to hear back from some departments, and then Senate Exec will pick the other remaining ones based off the at-large applications that were filled out. My first platform is that I want to spend time reviewing DPC and then submit any changes that are needed by the end of the year. That has not happened yet, so I haven't started making any progress in that area, so keep looking forward to later in the year. Once DPC gets started, we're gonna start looking at DPC regulations. But another thing that I've done is about extending marketing opportunities to organizations. So there's already been multiple K-State Today announcements about DPC. In addition, it was going out in CSI's weekly update. So all student organizations were gonna receive information about it. And then finally, Carson Chumlin, the travel allocations chair, actually made a flyer that goes to all student organizations. This year, all student organizations have to re-register at an in-person meeting. And at that meeting, they're actually receiving a lot of information about SGA. And so on that flyer, there's info about travel allocations, on-campus allocations, and DPC. So every organization on campus, as they register, is getting DPC information, which is really great to know. Another thing that I wanted to do was create consistent funding standards to make sure that every group was receiving equitable funding. And through some conversations, I found a really interesting way to do that. So Amy Lee is actually the accountant for CSI. So she is actually the one who gives out the money to the groups that come in, but she's not the advisor for the committee. We've actually moved the committee meeting time this year, so we're gonna be meeting at 3:30 so Amy can attend the meetings. She's really gonna be there to give financial insight, specifically about the contracts that the groups have to sign with the speakers that come. We're really excited to have that opportunity. I just think it's gonna be a more fair and equitable way to make sure that all the groups are receiving an appropriate funding. There's been problems in years past with per diem or per day pay that goes to speakers coming around. Typically, those groups already have contracts with the speakers, and I don't think that was clear with the committee beforehand. So we're just gonna be making sure that they know that. In addition, at our very first meeting, I'm going to be printing out the DPC funding guidelines and giving them to all of the members. So they're going to have the physical guidelines, so they're going to be aware of them from the start instead of just being told them by me. That way they can be more prepared to make informed decisions on funding throughout the year. For organization, one of the first things I want to do was organize Engage. I'm almost done with that organization process, so I'm consolidating a lot of the folders so everything makes way more sense in where it is. So you'll notice that the Agendas tab actually disappeared on Engage. That's because all the agendas are now under the appropriate committee for the agenda, so it's a lot easier to find where those agendas will be. That'll be happening to the Minutes tab really soon as well, so Minutes will be moving to be under each committee that they belong to as well. I've also started sending commendations digitally to students on campus. That started last spring, got a great response. I still offer to send a physical copy if those students would like one, which we've done as well. And then finally, I wanted to plan each open period speaker from the beginning of each semester. I'm really close. I only had 2 weeks missing by the first day. So we have almost every week for this semester filled up with open period speakers already. If you have anyone you know you'd like to come speak to us, I would be more than happy to do that. The first thing I did was that anybody who was recommended to me by a Student Senate was the first person I contacted. So if there's anyone you would like to come to Student Senate, please let me know. I will make sure to put them on my list and we will have them come to Student Senate. Finally, my last main platform that I ran on was having an open door policy. So the first thing I wanted to do was make CSI and the legislative office a welcoming environment. If you haven't been to the legislative office, it's got a couch in it. We've got a bowl full of candy stocked there. It's a really great place to hang out. I try to get work done, and I often don't anymore because so many people keep coming in to want to talk about different things, which is a really great problem. I see you, Nick, waving back there. So yeah, so it's been really fun. If you haven't stopped by, I'd really recommend that you do at some point. One of the things that Hannah and I have both done is have our stated times we're in class on the door, so that way it's easier to see when we're there and when we're not going to be there, and if we're not there, where we might be at any given point. Those sheets also have our contact information on them, so our emails and our phone numbers, so students can reach out to us. And then finally, I just wanted to be a positive resource for all members. I hope you all think I'm a positive resource. I try to be as much as possible, so hopefully I've gotten that one down. So I really feel like I've made good headway on my platforms. I hope you feel that as well. I just have a couple other quick announcements that I want to get to before I end my report. So the name tag order form is live. I'm in charge of ordering the name tags for SGA. So it's on the agenda right now. The due date for payment is September 20th. So if you don't have your payment to me by then, not just filled out the form, but if you haven't paid me $10 by that point, you will not be on like the name tag order. I'm thinking I'm probably going to be doing one later in the year, so interns as they come in can also be ordering some later in the year. If you miss this time, you get a second chance, but be on top of that if you really want to get a name tag ordered for this year. As Ollie, Sadie, and Jansen mentioned their report, on September 19th, we're actually going to be doing the IDI assessment as a collective SGA. To do that, Senate is actually going to start an hour earlier at 6 p.m. and roll call will be taken at that time. If you have like any reason you can't be there because of a class or other commitment, please let Hannah or myself know by that time. But we will be taking roll call at 6 p.m. because Dr. Bolton is going to take up about an hour of our time. We're actually going to be meeting in the Cottonwood room for that just because the intern program will be meeting here during that same time. So we don't want to infringe on them. I was intern coordinator. I understand what that's like. And then finally, my last little announcement is kind of like what I want to do with this report, and that's hold us, your leadership, accountable throughout this year. So try to make us better by being like better senators yourself. Make motions. If you've never made a motion before, I really challenge you to like make one tonight. I encourage you all to go to your committees, obviously, but go to committees that aren't yours. You'll learn a lot more about what different members in SGA are working on. Stand up and debate an issue if you feel strongly about it. I can remember back to when I was a freshman and I was an intern and I was terrified to debate an issue. But honestly, that's really how you know that you're like going to make a change on something. And if you feel strongly on a certain issue, you'll like know that you'll at least give it your best shot by trying to make that path clear. And then finally, as Hannah's kind of already mentioned, write your own bills. I think a problem that we have sometimes is that student senators try to like build consensus amongst everyone to make sure the perfect bill is passed the first time, and then things never get done. If you feel strongly about something, or if you don't like the way a certain conversation is going, introduce your own bill. The legislative process will work that out. If it's not good, we'll vote it down. If it is good, we'll vote for it. That's what we're supposed to do. So I really hope you all feel strongly about this. If you don't know how to write legislation, if you're uncertain, I will totally help you author a bill. I will teach you how to write it no matter what, even if it's something I totally disagree with. So feel free to always approach me on anything like that. We're always here to make sure that student senators are learning and growing. So my director's report is done, but I'm happy to stand for any questions that anyone may have of me. So
Any questions for Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell? Chair Booz.
Are you going to be having formal office hours, or are you just going to post the times you won't be there?
At this time, I don't have formal office hours, mostly just because I'm there if I'm not somewhere else. And just random things come up. I'm a college student too, but I would say that like 75% of the time, I get to campus at 8 a.m. every morning, and I don't leave till after 5 most days. So if you're here, check the office hours on my door just to see like when I should be in the office, because if I'm not in class or in another meeting, I'll probably be there. So, but I don't have formal office hours at this point now.
Any further questions? Caucus Leader Spellman.
No, we will be moving back down here after that. Dr. Bolton's going to take like roughly an hour, give or take a little bit, and then we'll be moving back down here afterwards.
Any further questions? Senator Beasley.
Where can those orientation documents that you've updated be found again?
So if you go to Engage and then Documents, kind of like where Chair Booz was showing earlier, instead of going to like legislation, there's just a main folder that's titled Training Documents. It's got about like 5 or 6 different like Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, things like that in it.
Granted.
Can you access that if you don't have the manage?
Yes, I'm 99% certain that I set it to be like anyone on campus can access that folder, but I'll double check that for you.
Any further questions for Nathan? Seeing none, are there any other directors that would like to give a report? Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move into college caucus time. So as I think all the caucus leaders should have a pretty good idea of what they're to do at that time, but be sure to ask us if you have any questions. If you are the caucus leader for your college, or if your caucus leader is gone. I think Health and Human Sciences and grad student senators are the only two in that situation. Go ahead and come up to me and get your tuition and fee strategies committee applications. Well, we're going to have grad students stay here in Wildcat Chamber. Same with architecture. Same with vet med. Health and Human Sciences, come see me at the front. Engineering, you're going to the CSI lobby. Arts and Sciences, you're going to the second floor seating area. And business and Radina's. Ag, I could tell you where to go, but you guys go somewhere hidden every time, so.
Right here.
There's one spot that got missed. And if you guys will hang out for a second.
Oh, and so Nick's coming too.
Yeah, did he not tell you? Okay, maybe that's supposed to be a surprise.
Okay, no. Okay, he said give him time to chat after 7 p.m. on Friday. And I was like, yeah, like we have a CRMER thing, but it ends at like 8 or 9. But I thought you had something important to do over the phone.
No, he's
Is he gonna be here for the game?
Yeah.
What's he gonna do?
What's he gonna do?
Behind the podium. I'll try. Guaranteed.
Thank you for being a great caucus leader.
Sorry, trying. Zach, how is sitting next to you? Is she a freshman, do you know? We're the intern coordinators. So we just wanted to I'm in arts and sciences.
All right, Student Senate, if you'll go ahead and take your seats, please. All right, now that we've concluded college caucus time, we're going to go ahead and move into general orders. Who actually read their email? Show of hands explaining what this portion of the meeting would be. Yeah? Okay, so we're going to start we're first going to seek nominations for somebody to serve on the Joint Committee on Officer Compensation. We'll want to go ahead and get all nominations for these 2 seats out of the way from the beginning. However, when we start the voting process, we will be voting for one candidate at a time to achieve one seat on that committee at a time to achieve that majority. Does that make sense to everybody? Nods. Okay, so it'll be kind of the same process as Speaker and Speaker Pro Tem elections, where a nomination will need a second. Once we have that candidate pool or nominations cease, they'll be able to have the opportunity to address Senate briefly. I said that there's a 10-minute cap there because it is explained to me that it should be the same as Speaker. I don't think it'll need to take that long. Just throwing that out there. So you'll have 10 minutes to speak, followed by 5 minutes for questions. If you are nominated, you will be asked to step outside of the room while the other candidates are speaking. So with that, are there any questions before we get started? It will be a blind ballot also. Questions? Okay. With that, I'll be seeking nominations for a student senator to serve on JCOC. Senator Javin. It's been moved and seconded to nominate Senator King. Do you accept? Perfect. Seeking further nominations for the Joint Committee on Officer Compensation. Caucus Leader Spelman. It's been moved and seconded to nominate Caucus Leader Glasscock. Do you accept? I accept. Okay, perfect. Any further nominations? Anybody? Well, this makes it really easy. Okay. So, congratulations, Senator. You all are great. Thank you. I cut up like 5 pieces of paper for nothing. So now we can get into some legislation. So there's obviously no minor allocations this week to be approved, but we will go ahead and move into final action. Before we get started there, however, I do have to apologize. The vote counts from committee didn't get printed there, but they were 9-0 on both Resolution 15 and 16 to recommend to Senate favorably. Will the author of Resolution 15 come forward? President Penny. Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made.
First right
one change has been made. We replaced Dean of Students Dr. Bosco with Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane.
Excellent, thank you. First right to debate.
These are our goals for the year. It's what we're prioritizing. Please pass it.
Any questions for the author? Seeing none, is there any debate in the positive or any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive. You can go sit down. Debate in the negative? Any debate at all? Okay, is there a motion to approve Resolution 15? Senator Beasley. It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 15. It's a resolution, so it'll be 2/3. So it'll just be a hand vote. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those in the negative? All right, Resolution 15 passes. Will the author of Resolution 16 please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes, we also changed Dean of Students, Dr. Pat Bosco to Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, and then also just fixed a couple of capitalization errors.
Okay, first right to debate.
So yeah, you should vote for this because we're just setting our priorities for the year and what we want to work on. Hopefully you agree with these priorities and think they're of value. So with that, I would strongly urge you to vote yes.
Okay, any debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Okay, I'll be seeking a motion on Resolution 16. Senator Beasley. It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 16. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Something you want to tell me? All right, Resolution 16 passes.
Thank you for the point of order. Thank you, Tell, for some clarification. So hand vote is not out of order. It's most common in assemblies to use a voice vote, correct? But we use, an essential more protection versus less in terms of analyzing how much people are voting. So a hand vote isn't out of order, but we can use a voice vote if it's more convenient for the assembly.
All right, thank you. We'll now move into introduction of legislation. Is there a motion to consider, a motion to consider Bill 2? Senator Oxner. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 2. Will the author please come forward? Senator Coker. It's been moved and seconded to allow the authors to summarize Bills 2, 3, and 4. Are there any objections? Seeing none, you may summarize.
Okay, I'm going to read the whereas clauses and then the new stuff, but not the old stuff. So Bill 1920-02, Amendments to the Kansas State University Sports Club Funding Regulations by Nathan Bothwell, Hannah Heatherman, and Carson Chumland. Whereas it is necessary to continuously review the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes, whereas the sports club privilege fee is reviewed and audited every 3 years, whereas the sports club's privilege fee is set to be reviewed prior to fiscal year 2021, Whereas an internal audit delivered on July 29th, 2019, noted the need to clarify the funding regulations for independent student organizations or ISOs and departmental student organizations or DSOs. Whereas amending the sports club funding regulations will ensure improved compliance with all future audits and reviews. So if you go down all the way to line 50, we added the new section 3, allocations. Allocations will be determined based upon activities attended and demonstrated need. Sports clubs that are classified as an independent student organization shall receive a single payment for their allocation. Sports clubs that are classified as a departmental student organization shall receive reimbursement for receipts for their allocation. Section 2, this bill shall take effect upon passage by Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President. And Section 3, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this bill shall be sent to Jana Clark, Audit Manager.
Are there any questions for the author or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion to consider Bill 3? Senator King. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 3. Will the author all come? All right, since I can summarize, and the whereas clauses here are essentially the same as the sports club ones, I'll go past those. This is half a governing documents changed from university and college allocations to travel and on campus. So that's part of it. The other part of this bill is some audit compliance things. So just areas clarifying, say that the $100 per person travel limit doesn't apply to academic competition teams, or that institutional service organizations can in fact use their student activity fee dollars for the funding of wages. Any questions?
Are there any questions for the author? Chair Booth.
Yes, I'm not sure why it was though. Max got it.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none.
Is there a motion to consider Bill 4? Caucus Leader Glasscock. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 4. Will the author come forward?
All right, so this bill is pretty simple. It's just kind of an operational type of bill. So what the purpose is the prior year, fiscal year 19, all the various accounts that still have funding that wasn't used, all of those funds will then be transferred into reserves accounts for each respective club. And that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, is there a motion to consider Resolution 21? Senator Coger. It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 21. Will the author please come forward?
I'm reading this entire thing. Resolution 19, 2021, endorsement of the revised Principles of Community by Hannah Heatherman and Jansen Penny. Whereas the General Counsel has requested that the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, Graduate Student Council, Graduate Council, Faculty Senate, University Support Staff Senate, and President's Cabinet review our current Principles of Community. Whereas additions have been made in an attempt to distinguish the Principles of Community from the university's policy prohibiting discrimination, harassment, sexual violence, domestic and dating violence, and stalking. Policy and procedures in the manual. Whereas these additions include references to the university's policy prohibiting discrimination in the university's statement on free speech and expression, and whereas the revised Principles of Community have been approved by the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Brian Samuel, Provost Charles Tabor, and President Richard Myers. Be it resolved, Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association endorse the following as our principles of community. The principles of community. Kansas State University is a land-grant public research university committed to teaching and learning, research, and service to the people of Kansas, the nation, and the world. We believe our collective mission is best accomplished when every member of the university community acknowledges and practices the following principles. We affirm the inherent dignity and value of every person and strive to maintain an atmosphere of justice based on respect for each other. We affirm the value of human diversity and inclusion for community. We stand against all forms of discrimination. We affirm the right of each person to freely express thoughts and opinions in a spirit of civility and decency. We believe that diversity of views enriches our learning environment, and we promote open expression with a climate of courtesy, sensitivity, and mutual respect. For more information, please see the University Statement on Free Speech and Expression. We affirm the value of honesty and integrity and will act accordingly in all professional endeavors and expect the same from our colleagues. We acknowledge that we are part of multiple communities, and we have a responsibility to be engaged in a positive way with our civic partners. We recognize our individual responsibilities to the university community and to the principles that sustain it. We will each strive to contribute to a positive spirit that affirms learning and growth for all members of our community. While these principles express the values of the community, for enforceable anti-discrimination policy, please see the university's policy prohibiting discrimination. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and the signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to University President Richard B. Myers, Provost Dr. Charles Tabor, Vice President of Student Life and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer Dr. Brian Samuel, Faculty Senate President Tanya Gonzalez, University Support Staff Senate President Sam Ryer, and Graduate School Council President Manzamaso Hojo.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell.
Yeah, and so it's said a few times up in the whereas clauses, but I'll explain those a little bit further here. So really this one, especially online, will put a link directly to the statement on free speech and expression. So some of these changes came about with looking at how we work with general counsel and what's enforceable and what's non-enforceable, and especially when we have questions coming up about what free speech means on campus and what can and cannot be said. Another change is the changing of the word obligation to responsibility, and that happens in about 2 instances throughout the new draft. And then there was some semantics changes in the line that starts with "we affirm the value of honesty and integrity," which is on line 45. That was kind of broken into 2, or that was combined there, and it changed a few semantics. And then at the end, they added, "While these principles express the values of the community, for enforceable anti-discrimination policy, please see the university's policy prohibiting discrimination." And all those will be linked from our website. This is to provide greater clarity and a little bit more sound understanding, especially relating to discrimination and free speech.
Further questions? Senator Kelly.
So it was mentioned that this was like being debated right now. Could you kind of touch on what's so contentious about these changes, just because I'm not super familiar?
Yeah, so I think this is something that a few changes of these is what Jordan brought up. Jordan Keel, the past Student Body President, the last time we were in the room back in like February, March, when they were kind of talking about what some of this would look like. I think some of the contentious issues there have been what that means to change like obligation to responsibility, and then also a lot of it has been working with general counsel as far as creating a document that they can also stand by if any litigations come as well. And so within Faculty Senate, something that Hannah and I get the privilege of serving on, they also totally endorse this as well, but a lot of their questions also stemmed from those same things about what's obligation, what's responsibility, and what does that mean for our principles of community.
I'll add to that briefly. There was at one point the talk of the inclusion of the word aspirational principles, and that's what sparked a lot of controversy, I guess, in Faculty Senate. Granted. Any further questions? Oh, Senator Gilling King. Okay, well,
Yep.
Max got it. Thank you. Any further questions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion to consider Resolution 22? Senator Coleman. It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 22. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 19, 2022, support for adding an additional fall break to the university calendar by Nathan Bothwell, Hannah Heatherman, and Jansen Penny. Whereas the Kansas Board of Regents have lowered the requirement for the number of days universities must be in session. Whereas Faculty Senate will be voting on September 10th, 2019 to approve a calendar with an additional 2-day break. Whereas the calendar seeking approval impacts years 2022 to 2025. Whereas the additional break would take place Thursday and Friday of the 9th calendar week, mid-October. Whereas the University Calendar Committee presented 2 calendars to Faculty Senate Executive Committee, one with an additional 2-day break and one without. Whereas the current calendar has 3 student holidays and no student holidays prior to the week of Thanksgiving. Whereas the Division of Student Life sees an influx in utilization during the month of October. And whereas it is the belief of Kansas State University Student Governing Association that an additional break could alleviate stress and mental health concerns following midterms. Be it resolved that Section 1, KSU SGA supports the addition of a 2-day fall break to the university calendar. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Provost Charles Tabor, Tanya Gonzalez, President of Faculty Senate, Thomas Lane, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students, and Susan Cooper, Interim Registrar and Chair of the University Calendar Committee.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Phillips.
Yeah, and so that process happens so far in advance. A large part of that is so yes that faculty and staff can plan that far out, but honestly it really helps with athletics too, so that they know the calendars so far out, and it impacts a lot of those like administrative things that happen. So pretty much 3 years ago, the University Calendar Committee passed our calendar of what we are using today.
Any further questions or corrections? Chair Orzechowski.
Yeah, it's referring to the utilization of student life resources, and so some of those include the Office of Student Life, who deal with a lot of students who have different academic challenges, or some of those like they bring mental health and health challenges to Office of Student Life so that they can work together with their academic advisors and professors. And then it also refers to counseling services and LaFine as well in the Academic Achievement Center too. So that is what that is referring to.
Any further questions or Caucus Leader Spellman? Yeah, we'll add that in.
Let's do it.
Further questions or corrections? Senator Beasley. It's been moved and seconded to special order resolution 22. The motion to special order is a debatable motion, so that would give Senator Beasley first right to debate in favor of special ordering this bill or resolution.
Good evening. So, as it says in the text of the bill on line 10, the Faculty Senate will be voting on this on September 10th, 2019. So if we don't special order this right now, this resolution, which speaks to the opinion of the students and this governing body will not be given to them until that time. So please vote yes and let our voices be heard. I stand for questions.
Any questions for Senator Beasley? All right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the negative for the special order. Yes, Senator Coker.
It's not necessarily in like the negative, but would it have to necessarily be a 2-day break, or could it be 2 individual 1-day breaks? Like, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the 2-day break is, they have to work out a lot of logistics and calendar committee. So this is the calendar that the University Calendar Committee has sent forward to Faculty Senate, including the 2-day break, as not to further make the number of days in Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes and Tuesday, Thursday classes unequal. Any further questions? Coordinator Colburn? Yes, of course. So by Senator Beasley's motion to special order this resolution, that would mean that this resolution would go straight into final action and we would vote on it and make a decision on this resolution tonight. Is that clear enough? I mean, I know you know, but any further questions? Senator Phillips. Yes, and that is written in the resolution, I believe, explaining that it's the 9th calendar, or I guess it doesn't say Thursday, Friday, but it is in the 9th calendar week, which is mid-October, and it's a Thursday and Friday. Further? Yeah, can we keep questions germane to the motion to special order, please? Any further debate in the, or any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell.
Just reiterating what Senator Beasley said, I really think that we should special order this tonight. Whether or not you are in favor or against the bill or the resolution, I still think you should vote to special order because Hannah Heatherman, so like she mentioned in her director's report earlier, she's actually going to be voting in this on Faculty Senate next Tuesday, and so she wants to know what your opinion is, like as all of Student Senate. So she needs to know how to vote next week, so that's why we need to special order this tonight. So that's why you should vote yes on the first thing tonight to special order.
Any questions for Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell? All right, seeing none, any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Chair Booz.
Yeah, so one of my very first senates was ended with a very large debate over whether to special order a piece of legislation. And like that really impressed upon me, like even as an intern, in one of my first weeks, I'm not entirely sure if it was my first week, but I think it might have been, that special ordering is not something you do lightly. And even for the visit of a person to speak at a Landon lecture, which is a hugely prestigious lecture. And so while I am in favor of voting on this resolution today, because Hannah and everyone here really does need to know what we think, but I would encourage you not to vote to special order it lightly, because we do need the time on most bills to go through the normal legislative process, and we do need to uphold this process. So thank you, and if you have any questions, please ask.
Any questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, any debate in the positive? Any debate in the negative? Any debate at all? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. Just to clarify one more time, this is voting on the special order to move this bill into final action for a vote on the resolution tonight. This is a 2/3 vote, so it will, see, I got ahead of myself. It will require a 2/3 or a hand vote. So all those in favor of special ordering resolution 22, raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move resolution, so the motion to special order resolution 22 is passed. We will now move into final action on resolution 22. Author has first right to debate.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. So like we mentioned earlier, we did send out a survey on this, and a few like really cool stats that we came up with. Something that a lot of people in Faculty Senate were like questionable about is like, how are students going to utilize this? Are they going to leave a day early, 2 days earlier? Like, is this going to wipe out our entire week? And what that does. So just like a quick stat from there, we found out that 78% out of the 400 plus students said that they would return to their permanent home. And a lot of the anecdotal responses at the end did have to do with students like myself who live out of state and don't have that opportunity to go home on a 2-day weekend because it's not a 2-hour drive to Kansas City or Wichita. It does require a longer time commitment than that. Some of our other questions addressed, like at what times during the semester do you feel that an increase in stress, an increase in mental health challenges, and it was overwhelmingly right there in the middle of the semester as well. And then it was above 50% that said right there in mid-July, and the rest was spread out from the beginning of school to finals week, dead week, in that area. And so based on the research that we did, and with Ollie and I also getting to represent the entire student body, we will be advocating for this in student faculty on Tuesday, and we will be showing them all the data and letting them hear that student voice. And it would be really helpful if we could have this documentation from Student Senate to also show that support of what you guys feel as well to give to Faculty Senate. This is, on some things we do, on some things we do might end up in someone's inbox and they might just, glance over it, feel good for a few seconds and be done with it. But this is something impactful. This is something that we are going to talk about here in a very short amount of time. And just this can make a difference. And I implore you to vote yes.
Any questions for President Penny? All right. Any debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? Pro Tem Bothwell.
So I just want to echo some of the sentiments that President Penny said, but I specifically want to hit on like the second part of the data he talked about mental health, specifically during like the month of October. So for me last year, as many of you know, I was intern coordinator and was having a blast last year. And there was actually 2 weeks in a row for midterms in October where I had a test Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the next week I had a test Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those were like my 2 weeks of hell last year. It was so horrible and I didn't have a break at all, while at the same time I was still having to manage the intern program. Thankfully, my year, this year is not going to be like that. I'm only in 12 credit hours this semester, so there's no way that could possibly happen to me. But even then, I really do believe in the sentiments of this bill and the idea of adding that extra 2-day break. I know some faculty concerns are related to what students will do with that 2-day break, whether or not classes will be wiped out. But for me personally, I just feel like this is such a long, continuous time of like going to school. Think about it right now. We will not have another break again until Thanksgiving break from this point right now, since Labor Day was on Monday. So that means a continuous time with no other breaks at all. And I don't, like, speaking for myself, I know that I'm going to be burnt out and stressed by later in the semester, and I'm going to assume that the rest of you will be as well. So I personally would advocate for this additional 2-day break. I really think Faculty Senate should advocate for it as well. So I would strongly implore all of you to vote yes on this resolution as well. I think it'd be a really strong statement of support that all of Student Senate agrees that this should happen. So with that, I'll answer any questions that the body may have for me.
Any questions for Pro Tem Bothwell? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all? All right, this time we'll move into a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, resolution 22 is approved. Okay, we'll now move into second open period. Are there any second open period speakers? Intern Coordinator Colburn?
Hi, I'm Lily Colburn, the Phase 1 Intern Coordinator.
And I'm Julia Howie. I'm the Phase 2 Intern Coordinator.
This week was really exciting. We sent out our first big email to all of the prospective interns. Those are people who Julia made contact with at orientation and enrollment. You all listed on the interest form, and then people who self-nominated themselves on the interest form, as well as people we talked to at the activities fair and international block party. Not that it really matters, but that was sent to over 200 people, so we're really excited. We got it out to a lot of people, but it doesn't happen until next week. So it's not too late to continue to nominate people. You can do that through Engage or through a Google form. If anyone asks me for the link, I'll send them the Google form, not the Engage form. Sorry that we spend a lot of money on that program, but the Google form is easier for this purpose. So if you have any questions, you can ask Julie and I about the intern program, about that nomination process. Just put their name in. So yeah, still nominate people. It's not at all too late. And of course, just talk to people in your classes about the intern program.
Yeah, just some really basic info. It's next Thursday at 5:45 here in Wildcat Chamber. If you just want to text that to any of your friends you think might be interested. And something to highlight is they don't have to be a freshman. So if you have friends that are sophomores, juniors, seniors, make sure and invite them too, because we want it to be a holistic range of students and not just for freshmen. So yeah, thank you guys.
I'll also say non-traditional students as well, just to plug it. You have all heard about my dad probably at this point. He's 60-something years old and going back to school, and he's coming to the intern program. So anyone can do it. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Lily and Julia? Okay, any further second open period speakers? Pro Tem Bothwell.
Hey everyone, I want to clear up a question that I was asked earlier during caucus time for everyone. It was about committee reports, and I just want to make some things just a little bit clearer for everyone. I got asked if Senate Ops would be dropping the elections conversation after 3 weeks. I think there was just some confusion on your answer, Andrew, just because if people weren't showing up. That is not the case. It's the open forum, part of their meetings that they're not going to be having if people aren't continuously showing up, but they will continuously be working on elections throughout the semester, just so everyone is aware. So just to make that clear, just because people asked about that, I wanted to get that out there. And then finally, again, just reminder on the name tags. You've got to pay me if your name tag's gonna come in, so Venmo me. I've also got an envelope. I'm taking cash right now as well. So I'll stand for any further questions.
Any questions for Pro Tem Bothwell? Seeing none, any other second open period speakers? It's because Marcus isn't here. With lots of love. Now we'll move into reference of legislation. Bills 2 and 3 will be going to the Privilege Fee Committee. Bill 4 will be going to both on-campus and travel allocations. Resolution 21 will be going to Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Both constitutional amendments, so Bill 1819-79 and Bill 1819-69, were ratified successfully in caucus time tonight. And with that, we'll move into second roll call. Also a friendly back to school reminder. It takes longer if people start packing up before he's done.
Al Abdullah. Al Madani. Beasley. Belina. Bedencourt. Booz. Burke. Clements. Colburn. Cruz. Dowd. Garcia. Jillian King. Gillespie. Glasscock. Gertson. Grover. Hamlin. Hines. Howie. Huffman. Jabin. Kavanaugh. Kelly. Kerperin. Kidd. King. Koger. Coleman. Leverett. Lux. Matos. Meinhardt. Newport. Ostner. Orzakowski. Belton. Pruss. Rice. Rivera. Reichert. Schlechter. Smith. Ben Snyder. Blaine Snyder. Spellman. Spencer. Stone Street. Wallace. Ward. Watkins. Whitmer. Boykin. Peyton. Rodriguez. Phillips. Soifua. Bowers. 45. Present.
Okay, we're ending then with 45 present, 7 excused, 5 absent. Is there a motion to adjourn? Chair Booz. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn until next week, same time, same place. Any objections? Have a great night. If your name was not called tonight, please come visit me.